Good morning. It's May 1st, Labor Day here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with President Yoon Suk Yeol's return home from his state visit to the U.S. The South Korean leader has wrapped up his week-long trip, bringing home new deals and fresh commitments from Washington. Follow-up measures toward tangible outcomes are on the way. Ukraine takes responsibility for the massive fire at an oil reserve in Russian-controlled Crimea and says that preparations for an expected counterattack against Russia are in final stages. And despite being on the losing side, Tottenham Hotspur's Heung-min scored his 10th English Premier League goal of the season, extending his double-digit league scoring streak to 7 seasons. Returning from his trip to Washington, D.C. and Boston, President Yoon Suk Yeol arrived back in Seoul on Sunday afternoon. Now, to wrap up his major achievements, here's our correspondent, Oh Soo-young.
Touching down in Seoul on Sunday afternoon, President Yoon Suk Yeol returned from his official U.S. visit with a number of agreements aimed at broadening and deepening the 70-year alliance. The most notable outcome was the Washington Declaration, a separate document he produced with Joe Biden following their summit. To address North Korea's growing nuclear threat, the declaration reaffirmed Washington's extended deterrence commitment to defending its ally. It also established a nuclear consultative group to provide Seoul with more insights on how the US plans and acts upon the use of nuclear weapons. Critics, however, say the consultative group may fall short of expectations, as US officials say they do not consider the new body a form of nuclear sharing with the South, like its arrangement with NATO. On the economic front, Yoon's biggest task was addressing concerns about America's industrial guardrails against China and tax credit policies hurting South Korean chip and automakers. Without immediate solutions, the two sides agreed to mitigate uncertainty for the South Korean firms through close consultations in light of the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act. Calling himself South Korea's #1 salesman, Yoon held a number of roundtables and business events, garnering some $5.9 billion in investment from US firms including Netflix. Some 50 MOUs were signed among the over 120 corporate leaders who made up his business delegation, focusing on the high-tech and bio sectors, agreeing to join together across all crucial strategic technologies, from semiconductor supply chains to the research and development of quantum and space tech. Yoon and Biden established a National Security Council-level economic dialogue and reaffirmed their commitment to developing the Indo-Pacific economic framework. President Yoon also pushed to make South Korea a more active player in global governance.
Mr. President, your principled leadership has helped bring us even closer together and has made Korea a global pivotal state.
In a speech to Congress, the first in 10 years for a South Korean leader, and in his unprecedented lecture at Harvard Kennedy School, Yoon pledged South Korea, as a past recipient of international support during and after the Korean War, will stand up for freedom and liberal democracy around the world. Yoon's official state visit having set the blueprint for the bilateral alliance and expanding value-based friendship. The president's mission now is to turn his stateside pledges into tangible outcomes for the South Korean public. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
And another Yoon Kishida summit may come early this month. And this time it'll be here in Seoul, as the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is reportedly planning the trip that follows President Yoon's visit to Tokyo in March, as the two nations work on improving bilateral ties. Lee Kyung-eun reports.
Multiple Japanese media outlets over the weekend have reported that Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is planning to visit South Korea early this month, with the Asahi Shimbun reporting the trip could come as early as May 7th to 8th. The visit reciprocates South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol's visit to Tokyo in March, which the two leaders defined as a breakthrough in mending bilateral relations that have been strained over historical issues. Seoul's presidential office has made no official comment on the meeting. Being the first visit by a Japanese leader in over 5 years, it will also mark the resumption of regular reciprocal trips that were pledged during the last summit. In yet another back-to-back meeting in the same month, President Yoon is also poised to visit Hiroshima to attend the Group of 7 summit as a guest from May 19th to 21st. The latest developments come as Seoul and Tokyo have been picking up momentum in their bilateral ties. Seoul has restored Japan to its wide list of preferential trading partners, with Tokyo also having started its own process to do the same. The move also comes as the two nations seek to ramp up trilateral cooperation with Washington against North Korea, which was specifically highlighted during President Yoon's state visit to the U.S., which wrapped up just this weekend. The upcoming G7 summit will likely see a three-way meeting between the leaders. Against its backdrop, bilateral cooperation on defense and stabilizing the chip supply chain are likely to top the agenda. Heung-min, Arirang News.
Now, on to the crisis in Ukraine. The country says it's responsible for a massive fire at an oil depot in the Russian-controlled Crimea. And that's not it. Ukraine says it was the beginning of their planned spring counteroffensive. Our Choi Soo-hyung reports.
Ukraine is preparing for its spring counteroffensive, with Kyiv's defense minister Oleksiy Reznikov recently announcing that preparations for the counteroffensive are almost complete. On Sunday, a massive fire broke out at an oil depot in Russian-controlled Crimea. Natalia Humaniuk, a spokesperson for the Ukrainian Army of Southern Command, said that the attack on an oil depot was carried out by the Ukrainian military. She added that the destruction of the Russian military's fuel depot was one of the preparations for that large-scale counteroffensive that everyone is waiting for. However, Mark Galeotti, a Russia security expert from the UK, warned in a Sunday Times article on Saturday that while Ukraine may show confidence in its counteroffensive against Russia, it should be cautious because ammunition and supplies such as shells are running out faster than expected. He also warned that Ukraine may face difficulties due to Russia's fortified defenses. Russia appears to have already fortified its defenses in preparations for any counteroffensive. Recently, satellite images have shown that the Russian military has built large fortresses and minefields in the southern region of Ukraine, which is expected to be the main target of Ukraine's counteroffensive. Breaking through Russia's defense network could be a daunting task for Ukraine. Choi Soo-hyung, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk Yeol wrapped up his week-long state visit to the U.S. over the weekend. Now, how much has South Korea gained from this trip? For today's On Point, we look back at his state visit to D.C. with Professor Chung Gu-yeon from Gangwon National University. Welcome back to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Professor Chung, overall, how do you evaluate President Yoon's state visit? I mean, what has South Korea gained and how significant could you say the trip was?
Well, I think it was pretty successful. It was not just a state visit, but it's the 70th anniversary of ROK-US alliances. So it is time to provide a new blueprint to last the next 70 years and how two countries actually cooperate over, not just over North Korea, but over kind of global issue as well. And when you're looking back at the history of ROK-US alliances, we developed from military alliances, but gradually moved to economic cooperations, and now we are cooperating over advanced technological cooperation. So we are expanding the area of cooperation and deepening the scope of cooperation as well. So given that situation and considering the uncertain geopolitical landscape, I think both allies attempted to navigate this strategic environment they face and attempted to find the common grounds, especially cooperation over advanced technology like AI and battery, and even for the space security cooperation. That's a kind of milestone accomplishment for both allies to pave the way for the future cooperations. And in case of the Washington declarations, I think it is a kind of optimal outcome negotiated between two allies. And they are able to respond to changing regional geopolitical landscape, not just for North Korea's nuclear threat and missile threat as well, and provide stronger assurance for the South Korean public and strengthen the kind of role and role of the regime of extended deterrence between U.S. and South Korea, and maintaining the non-proliferation regime as well, which sends a stronger signal to North Korea and raise the cost of provocations, as our South Korea's and North Korea policy actually stipulate.
Right, but we are staying with Washington Declaration on the security front. Now, some watchers believe the Washington Declaration is not as effective as NATO's nuclear sharing agreement. How effective do you think the Washington Declaration is compared to NATO's deal, and also in terms of, like you've mentioned just briefly, countering North Korean threats?
Well, it is not exactly the same situation between European theater and Northeastern theaters. The geographical and geopolitical characteristic between European theater and Northeast Asia is substantially different. When you're looking at European theater, tactical nuclear missiles on the ground is combined with NATO allies bomber. So that's the kind of way U.S. maintains stability on their regions vis-a-vis Russian and Soviet Union threats. But when you're looking at East Asia, U.S. strategic command has rarely communicated with their nuclear posture, nuclear strategy with South Korean and East Asian allies so far. And U.S. FK, South Korea does not have any authorization on the issue as well. So we need to begin in the first place to build a consultative structure in the first place, which is actually developed from the existing one in South Korea, and share the information to discuss the actual North Korea threats and planning at the same time. And when you're looking at the U.S. and South Korea relationship, the threat faced by two allies from North Korea is different from European theater as well. And especially the maritime characteristic of Western Pacific and Northeast Asia, where, for instance, like intermediate ballistic nuclear missiles cannot be deployed, as in the case of Europe, the suggested measures that we are kind of deploying SSBN is the optimal choice at this moment. And considering the upcoming transport in the future, I think this consultative group is a kind of best way to secure South Korea's security in the future.
Right. The two groups definitely reflect different regional situations. Now, President Yoon's state visit itself is meaningful. That the state visit was the first of its kind in 12 years, and various deals and new commitments were secured. But Professor Chung, what do you think his trip missed or could have put more emphasis on?
Well, given the unstable economic kind of situation across the world, I think economic security issue and supply chain issue might have been considered more. Well, it's not entirely possible to reorganize the current economic security supply chain or change the United States posture at this moment. But South Korea probably must have kind of provide more expectations about gaining more profit or benefit from this state visit. And this is more so, a group of South Korean business leaders actually joined the state visit together with President Yoon. So I guess private sector as well as public sector, they have anticipated much better result out of the state visit. But this is actually more trickier than we are just saying it, because U.S. is not just decoupling, but they are more like de-risking the relationship vis-a-vis China. So it is more risky, more kind of trickier. It takes more time to consider this process, but I think South Korea could have done more about this issue.
Right. And another diplomatic event may be on the way. The three leaders of Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo are reportedly arranging a trilateral summit in Japan later this month on the sidelines of the G7. Now, if it does take place, how meaningful or significant is such a summit between the three leaders?
You can see the gradual steps of three allies, how they are consolidate their commitment to defend the Northeast Asian theaters, not just for the North Korea, but just the regional, but more about regional issues as well. What South Korea, the non-pen declarations from East Asia Summit from last November has been kind of discounted and less received. But they actually make a kind of commitment about how to make us stable and prosper in the Pacific. And if three countries actually met within several weeks, they probably talk about North Korea, but at the same time, they will discuss more regional and global issues as well, as they discussed already from the non-pen declaration.
Right. Lots of political and diplomatic events on the way, especially in the month of May on the sidelines of G7. And also the leaders of Seoul and Tokyo reportedly arranging another summit here in Seoul.
That's right.
All right, Professor Zhang, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Tottenham Hotspur forward Heung-min scored his 10th English Premier League goal of the season on Sunday. That's scoring double digits in the league for the 7th straight season. For more on Sunny's milestone, Lee Seung-ja has more.
In an epic match between Tottenham Hotspur and Liverpool at Anfield Stadium on Sunday, South Korean national football team captain Heung-min scored Spurs' second goal in the 77th minute as the visitors worked to recover from finding themselves 3-0 down after 15 minutes. Despite a dramatic equalizer for Tottenham in the 3rd minute of injury time, Liverpool came out on top, winning 4-3 thanks to Diogo Jota's winner just a minute later. However, despite the defeat for Sonny, the goal against Liverpool was his 10th league goal of the season, and this means that for the 7th straight season, he has scored at least 10 goals. Having made his Tottenham debut in 2015, Son has scored at least 10 league goals each season starting in the 2016-2017 campaign. That includes his Golden Boot-winning 2021-2022 season, where he netted 23 goals to tie with Mohamed Salah of Liverpool as the Premier League's top marksman. Son also has 145 goals in all competitions for the club, making him the 6th most prolific scorer in the team's history. He'll now have his eye on passing club legend Cliff Jones, who is 5th on the leaderboard with 154 Tottenham goals. However, for Son, more important than his latest milestone is his team finishing in the top 4 this season to earn a spot in next season's Champions League. With 4 more league matches remaining this season, Spurs trail 4th-place Manchester United by 9 points, and with the Champions League spot still mathematically possible, they'll need results elsewhere to go their way. However, Liverpool leads Tottenham by 2 points with 5 more matches to play, while United has 6 more games, leaving Sonny and his Tottenham teammates with a tough task ahead. Lee Seung-ja, Arirang News.
From Monday, inbound travelers to South Korea will no longer have to submit a customs declaration form if they have nothing to declare. This means that travelers now carrying goods over $800 or more than $10,000 in cash will no longer have to fill out the forms on or prior to arrival. Now, the move is aimed at reducing immigration lines. In 2019, 98.8% of travelers had to wait in lines to submit their customs forms, even if they had nothing to declare. And from July, even passengers with something to declare will be able to get their customers faster by using a mobile app. More people these days are enjoying life after retirement by operating small smart farms. Now, these smart farms are not only easy to operate, but also make considerable profit. Our Chung Eun-ju has this report.
Ginseng sprouts grow in this 26-square-meter greenhouse. It can be seen as a smaller version of a smart farm. Everything from temperature and humidity to water and liquid fertilizing is managed automatically. Music is also played to help the plants grow. The farmer has been retired for 2 years, but these small smart farms enable him to continue to earn money. It costs him around 1 billion won to operate 20 small smart farms. His monthly income is around 30 million won.
With these smart farms, I come for a bit and get done what I need to fairly easily, but my income has gone up considerably.
This is a company in Gyeongsang-namdo province that manufactures small smart farms. It provides overall smart farm services such as manufacturing equipment, seedling supply, crop purchasing, and distribution. Sales in 2019 were around 2.2 billion won and recorded 32 billion won last year. That's a 15-fold increase in just 3 years. It also means that more people are now operating small smart farms.
We get so many retirees, many actually retire early. They come to our smart farm after contemplating about what to do after retirement.
The global smart farm market size last year was 482 trillion won. The South Korean market is predicted to grow to more than 5 trillion won by 2024. More people preparing for life after retirement are expected to increase their interest in small smart farms. Chung Eun-ju, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Ashley, and we now turn over to stories from around the world. We begin in India's northern Punjab state, where at least 11 people, including women and children, have been killed in a gas leak. A further 9 people have been hospitalized. The gas leak in the city of Ludhiana on Sunday morning local time is suspected of coming from a nearby factory. Authorities say it's likely the gas was a lethal mix of methane or gas contamination that spread via manholes. This affected residents within a 300-meter radius. Now, the area has since been evacuated and police in protective gear are conducting search and rescue operations. The incident comes 3 years after a gas leak near a chemical plant in Andhra Pradesh killed 11 people and hospitalized 800 with breathing difficulties and irritated skin. Moving over to the United States, where authorities are hunting for a suspect accused of fatally shooting 5 people, including an 8-year-old child. According to the FBI, 38-year-old Francisco Oropeza is armed and highly dangerous. He is alleged to have killed his neighbors in Cleveland, Texas on Friday night local time. The neighbors had reportedly asked him to stop shooting his gun in his yard as they were trying to put a baby to sleep. Authorities say that Oropeza in response loaded his AR-15 rifle, walked into the neighbor's home and shot those who were killed at close range. 10 people were at the property at the time. At least 200 officers are looking for the suspect, and there's an $80,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. Now, taking a look at Twitter now, CEO Elon Musk announced on Saturday that as of May, media publishers will be able to charge users on a per-article basis, which can be paid with a single click. This means that users will be able to read articles from publishers they are not subscribed to. Musk has described it as a win-win for both the public and media organizations. The new feature's exact rollout date is still unknown, and Musk has not said how much commission Twitter plans to take. Some have said the move could lead to more clickbait headlines, but others have welcomed it as an alternative to full-time media subscriptions. The new feature comes amid a series of changes at Twitter meant to make the social media platform profitable. And finally, an ultramarathon runner in Bulgaria's capital, Sofia, has locked himself in a glass box for the next 15 days. Krasa Georgiev began the charity stunt on Sunday local time and now only has access to a bed and a treadmill. He has no computer, phone, or any access to books, and he can only speak to the public for 30 minutes per day. The extreme athlete calls the stunt a psychological experiment meant to raise awareness and funds to fight addictive behavior among under-18s. Georgiev has run 30 ultramarathons worldwide, from the Arctic to Cambodia.
Good morning. It's a refreshing start to the new month. Most parts of the country are seeing a natural green background around this time. And it looks like being a pleasant Labor Day for most regions, with big gaps in readings across much of Korea. However, Chungcheongdo provinces and some southern regions could see dust levels rising during the first half of the day, but the rest of the country will have good air quality all day today. And this afternoon, Seoul will go up to 21 degrees. Daejeon and Daegu will see a high of 22 degrees Celsius this afternoon. We are expecting sunny skies nationwide, with a dry advisory issued in east of Gangwon-do province, with strong wind expected as well. Temperatures rise further tomorrow and will stay warmer than average throughout the week. Then there is a chance of rain on Thursday on the south coast in Jeju. Children's Day this Friday looks to be a cloudy one. Then Saturday marks Ippa already, the beginning of summer on the seasonal calendar. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. Thanks for watching.